Oregon's own Senator Ron Wyden. Look at you. Welcome
Welcome.
back.
Hey, good to be with you guys.
Thank you so
Hi,
much for
hi. How are you?
returning to our
What a
show.
what a
Thank you.
time. It
I
is
know.
really
Wow.
unbelievable. Unbelievable.
You
What
How
do
you
are
you
holding
guys
up?
you're not
talk about?
kidding.
Well, what are
All
we
right.
talking about? We were just talking about how Republicans want to drink our tears, but we don't want to drink their tears. We want them to
No.
have health care and decent middle class life. That's what we're fighting for. Not to own them or
Yes.
to shame them or to, well, not shame. We're not trying to hurt them. We're trying to make sure that we can all share in the prosperity that our labor makes possible in the first place. What are you going to do?
Yes.
That's way too common sense.
Right. It is.
All
It
right.
is.
What we want to do is make the most of the time that we have with you. And I'm also really looking forward to your town hall here in Portland tomorrow. I will be there. And your staff is just the best. I want you to know that. I'm very grateful for that. And maybe we can have a moment tomorrow to talk about that.
I like
We
it.
are facing, I know, you have great people working for you because Democrats always do. We are facing a government shutdown amid trying to force that release of the Epstein files vote. Can you give our audience an update of where we are on both of those things at this moment?
Well, nothing new on the question of the shutdown in the last 15 minutes, but it like really keeps changing. And
Right.
we're trying to make the point that in a few weeks, if nothing is done, Oregonians and people all across this country are going to get hit with an economic wrecking ball in the form of these higher premiums. And they are going to
Wow.
double
Yeah.
basically what people are paying. And I'm just saying, look, this was the Trump idea. This is what they got their allies in Congress to push for. We're trying to come up with something that works for everybody.
What do you think of
Right.
what's the prognosis for that though? It's really concerning. They're going to kick millions of Americans off of their health insurance when we were trying to incrementally ensure that we all can go to a doctor when sick. That's a basic citizen right that others enjoy all over the world.
Yeah, they're
But we
just
don't.
in denial. You look at that letter that Trump sent to the leadership, talking
Oh
about
God.
all these horrors that are 98% imaginary and the like. And they are just in denial about the basic proposition. They're happy to use all this lingo about healthcare, word
Right.
salad, and all the rest. And I keep saying, look, I've been doing this since my days with the Gray Panthers, and people are going to understand they're just really one idea here, and that's premiums. And premiums are going through the stratosphere because of what you've done.
Yes.
And we want to figure out a way to get some help from people and get for people, and that's the bottom line.
Wow. Wow. It's just a shame that people have to lose what they have. It just seems this way to to wake up, in these red
Well,
states. I
Tara,
think
you're
yeah.
you're you're even understating it. Not only are they losing what is so important to them in terms of affordable, good quality health care, they're watching the billionaires make out incredibly
Right.
well.
Right. It's
What
just
could be more unfair?
right. It's disgusting. And I don't know. It seems like a lot of the American people look at the billionaires as if that we even had a middle class in this country because they felt like trickling it on us, which is not true. It came from government policy. It came from New Deal government policy that promoted the working class from the bottom up. And it's in spite of the billionaires of FDR's time, who he called the economic royalists, and that it was his duty to the Constitution to tamp down on their power. And I mean, we're here again. But I feel like I don't know. There's so much more
People,
in
people are
control.
catching on. People are catching on. Yesterday, I had a really big town hall meeting in Lane County, and I said I just introduced the billionaire's income tax, and everybody
Nice.
started clapping and the like. And I said, let me just tell you, because it's even worse than you think. If you just use three words, buy, borrow, and die, as a billionaire, you can
Oh no,
pay
we lost those three
more
words.
Wait, say again. Buy, borrow, and die.
if a billionaire goes out and buys a huge array of apartment buildings, for example,
Oh, right.
and
Hmm.
does nothing with them and just lets them appraise in value, and then goes to their friendly banker and says, give me a really big loan because I'm a great risk for you. I have all these buildings, and give me a cheap break. And then they get it and they go out and spend it on their lifestyle. And they can continue it until eventually they pass, and then their kid gets a capital gains break. Three
Right.
words: buy,
Wow.
borrow, and die. All a billionaire has to do.
Right.
Pay little
Buy,
or nothing.
borrow, and die. That's
Wait, your mic is really
Well,
hot.
let's-
Sarah. Your mic is very hot. That's all. And Senator,
Mine is?
yeah, yours is a little
Hot.
low. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
all right.
I'm trying
How's that?
to
Is that
balance
better?
it, but it's
Is that better?
yeah, it's a little
Maybe it's
better.
just
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
It's just my energy. Just my
Yes.
energy. All right, Senator, I want to talk to you about the Epstein files and what Senate Finance is doing and how you're dealing with Treasury. But we got an important, I think, boost in the Epstein files story that no one is talking about, which is that both Fox News and Wall Street Journal verified the signature on the Epstein birthday letter. That is not a big enough story, and I think could really, and it just points to like why it's important for independent media to be talking about it, because the mainstream media isn't. But how can we better let the American people know stuff like that while you're doing the important work you're doing? Because yesterday I was on Dean Obadela's Sirius XM show. He did not know Treasury has their own set of Epstein files, and those are the things that the American people need to know about.
You're absolutely right. And today, a story came out in the New York Times that outlined the fact that we're pushing J.P. Morgan chief Jamie Dimon, for answers on what the bank was doing all these years. And
They
it
knew.
is really stunning when you look at it. The bank basically was letting Epstein do a lot of stuff in cash, which has always been a prescription for trouble.
Right.
And they clearly had people there who just were not responsible and could have rooted out this problem. So I will tell you, overall, I think we are really starting to move in the right direction. And one big signal is in the House, there's a guy who's very conservative, and I don't think particularly with us on this issue. But now he is talking constantly about following the money.
Oh, nice. Finally.
Yeah, he's negotiating with the Secretary of Treasury. Well, let's see what comes of it. But the point is, the language has changed, and we are seeing that people believe that there is a path to some fairness and some justice for all those victims, and the path is called look at the money trail, and we're getting there. I feel like we're making real progress.
Right. But I mean, just think about.
And what would the consequences be?
Well,
I think that's what everybody wants to jump to, because he hasn't
suffered
suffered any in a decade, and it'd be nice.
I'll give you one of them that was pointed out by a couple of independent journalists. There is a compensation fund right now for victims, but it doesn't look like the victims are getting much of the money. And so if we prove
Weird.
how unfair it is, I think we'll get some more money to the victims, and I'll get that information to you about the Victims Compensation Fund.
So yeah, because the thing is,
That's fantastic.
Is it so? Okay, let me correct me if I'm wrong. There are red flag laws. So J.P. Morgan did not adhere to these laws and rules when they processed over $1 billion for Epstein when he was their client, and like you're saying, with frequent large cash withdrawals. And that seems
repeated withdrawals.
And doesn't that say that these banks don't have any respect for the government of the United States? That they are the government. They think that different rules and catch me if you can. This is what I believe that is part of our problem right now, that we have not regulated them unapologetically, and there's been no consequences for any bankster who's violated any law, like even during when Obama was president. I hate to say, no banksters went to jail for the financial crisis. Not they did in other countries, but I don't know. I'm a Democrat through and through, but I think that we have to really unapologetically take back our country on so many levels. What's the prognosis? Do you think you're a senator of the United States and they seem to ignore you? I mean, is there hope?
I think they have felt they were above the law. But yesterday, when I was at that town hall meeting in Lane County and people asked me what the problem was, I said, the game is rigged.
Right.
And people all said that's what this is all about. The banks looked the other way, the IRS looked the other way. There were agencies sleepwalking. I mean, to this day, we have some of Epstein's henchmen out walking around, and basically they've
I
done.
know. And that in
So
itself.
what I told
Kills
folks
me.
at a town hall meeting is we're staying at this until we get to
Right.
the bottom of it. We're going to have some things changed so that the banks get held accountable and people have to do audits and the like. And I think we've got a shot now at some real momentum. They had an election in Arizona, I believe it
Yes.
was, and that went in favor of somebody who wants to hold Epstein accountable. So we're getting
Nice.
there, and we're making
Yes.
a lot of progress because people are seeing what you're talking about. These independent journalists are making a real
Right.
difference.
And that's what we're trying to do, and we were just
We're
discussing.
trying as hard as we
Yeah.
can.
Hmm.
It's hard to
Definitely.
get the truth to float to the top when they're not interested in it. What do your Republican colleagues say about Trump and the Epstein files when they're not on camera? Can you share anything? Like, you don't have to name names, but
Yeah.
that they're
No,
remaining loyal even after all of this stuff connecting him to Epstein, verified by Fox and the Wall Street Journal, and they're still pushing violent rhetorics as a way to distract, and they're not owning up to what, like, we're able to hold our own accountable. We did with John Edwards, we did with Michael Avenatti, we did with Bob Menendez. That Republicans aren't capable of holding him accountable for something that's so egregiously terrible,
No. Yeah,
that has been
exactly.
verified by sources that are usually, friendly to him, I think should be a giant red flag to Republicans who are in Congress.
I think A, you're right, and B, based on what I see with the House Republicans, who now know that there is an election coming up, that there is a real prospect that their voters who are certainly now liberals by anybody's calculation, are really angry about this. I think the House Republicans are moving towards holding the administration and everybody involved here accountable. The Senate Republicans are kind of watching more cautiously because they're intuitively more cautious. But they're getting more concerned. But watch these House Republicans, because when somebody like James Comer, who's the Republican chair of the committee, is involved in saying this is part of following the money, people pay attention. And as people will see in reading the article, is that when we had that big meeting during the Biden administration, I tried to subpoena the administration, and the Republicans in the Senate wouldn't go with me, wouldn't join me. And I said, you're going to regret it, and I think they will.
It's a shame. I have to ask too. And what
Have you had any more? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say. I was going to ask that.
We both want to ask you the question
yeah.
at the same time.
Well, I just want to ask that if the keeping with what Dublin was just saying, what do your Republicans say behind closed doors about Trump? Do they understand how dangerous he is and how dangerous to America? Like what just happened with suppressing freedom of speech? How could they go along with this? They must know who he is.
Let's put it this way. I thought there was zero chance of how somebody like Ted Cruz was going to make an outspoken statement about free speech that the three of us agree on. And look at what he had to say.
Right.
So the ice is beginning to break here.
True.
On Epstein and a bunch of the policies we're talking about. And I think, Tara Dublin, you asked a great question with respect, how's the timing going to work? Watch the House Republicans, because they are all moving our direction in terms of Epstein. They're concerned about health insurance bills, coming in. People are going to see, and they know they're going to be on the ballot, practically in 15 minutes, which is an exaggeration. They know the election's coming.
Because they want carve-outs for their
crazy.
states. That's the other thing. The hypocrisy is stunning, but not unexpected. Because they want to this big ugly bill. They want to have a carve-out to protect themselves from its consequences for all their states.
The math is so bad. For example, They cut almost $1 trillion out of Medicaid, and then they set up some itty bitty slush fund
Yes.
that apparently is going to help, according to them, their hospitals, and there's not enough
Unreal.
money there.
No.
Republicans know that the whole thing is a fake, and it really
Right.
doesn't exist, and they ought to move back away from giving all this money to the billionaires and get it into healthcare.
It's incredible how they do this to their own constituents. And this is why the Democrats, I believe, should be a national party, of course, because we are the ones on the right side of history, decency, dignity, democracy, humanity. And
How about people's wallet? I mean, the story
yes,
came out a couple of days ago that a third of the people in Oregon do not have $400
right.
in order to cover an emergency. So
That's disgraceful. Exactly.
This food. This is housing.
Hi, I'm one of them. I'm one of them, Senator. I'm one of
Yeah.
those Oregonians. It's such a hard time. And for those of us who are, super invested in the truth, I carry with me a lot of the information that you gave us the last time you were on our show, because I live where the truth does. And it makes me feel, a little bit more optimistic about our future. Have you gotten any better response from the Treasury Department? Is Scott Bessent any more willing to work with you, or is he still being obstructive? Because that's another thing that people don't know. They don't know that that Treasury has their own files. It's crazy people don't know that.
Epstein information is at Treasury that is very, very relevant to this whole thing. Now, the Republican chair, this fella Comer that we're talking to, who talks always about following the money, he sounds like me on this issue. He's wrestling with Bessent, and it's starting to come out that a Republican head of Treasury, Mr. Bessent, is waltzing around a Republican chairman who wants this information. And it has been like a God-given gift to our side, because we've been making that claim for a long time, and we'll really use the information. And Mr. Comer has been quoted a number of times here recently, and it's clear he's getting frustrated with Bessent. And I say, well, ought to stick to it. We'll work with whatever comes out.
Right. It's horrible.
I love that. Let them eat each other, right? Right? Mm-hmm. Because we can only benefit. Do you, and we're almost out of time, but one thing do you see a path to impeachment? If House Republicans are stepping up like this, do you see a path to a third impeachment and perhaps even finally an actual verdict in the Senate that would get rid of Trump and the rest of the illegitimate regime?
It's
I like
hard.
To call them.
Yeah, right. What I see is that the economy is hurting so many people in terms of tariffs, in terms of not being able to afford, $400. Jerome Powell, I didn't know what to make of Jerome Powell initially, and he was a Trump guy and the rest. But this is the guy who's been out there talking about the effect on people who don't have power and clout, and has been lowering, interest rates. So the way I see it, I think that if we keep doing what we're doing, I feel like we're going to start seeing real progress next year and into the elections, and then it's a brand new ball game. Because if people see that the economy is driving things, I mean, Trump lied about what a tariff was for years on end. Yeah. And we finally won the fight. We've convinced working class people they're the victims. They're the ones getting the tax increases. And I think that's what's starting to sink in, and that means a better next year.
I hope.
I hope so. I heard a great quote.
Go ahead. Sorry. No, it's fine. We're both jumping in. It's fine.
I know. I heard a great quote about the MAGA cult, Senator, and I think it's really great because they're not invested. They don't care about politics. They care about this cult of personality and belonging, and that they will remain loyal to Trump, and they will continue to believe his lies until those lies don't provide comfort, but actually cause them some sort of stress or impact on their lives. When the comfort of the lie no longer serves them, that is the only time they'll turn. How do you feel about that?
I think it sums it up. But personally, what I like is when Donald Trump told women to tough it out. And that was his response in terms of major healthcare policy. I said, that's the thing I want people to really understand. I'm fighting, and I want your listeners, to know, I think Bobby Kennedy has got to go. He's got to be replaced.
Oh, hell yeah, my
Absolutely.
senator.
But
That's right. That
will
is
the
right.
will the Democrats unify around universal health care? Is that on the plate here, on the
Yes.
table?
The answer is yes, and I'm the point person for the Senate Finance Committee. I think universal coverage is a basic human right.
Yes.
We're going to lower these health insurance premiums,
Amen.
get rid of Robert Kennedy, and start us back on the track of people matter more than special interests.
Right. I think that people are waking up
That's
to
right.
that. It's a long time
Certainly
since the
are.
Obamacare,
People
debacle
are
town
worried about
halls.
their kid having access to a vaccine.
Right. It's just the whole thing is on
That's
the
right.
table now. And that the fact that the Republicans are really all they have done in the past 7 months is make everything worse. Make it worse.
The damage is going to be everywhere. We're going to lose small pharmacies all over Oregon. It's
Wow.
one of the reasons that we see Oregon and Washington and the regional folks trying to set up their own arrangement for
Right.
vaccines. We're
That's
getting
what
clobbered.
I'm hoping to. In the meantime, there's been talk about the blue state soft secession, where we could form blue state universal health care or pharmacies and things like that. Is that something that people?
Let's stop a recession in
Yeah.
our part of the world. Those regional alliances, I think, are attractive ideas.
Yeah, I think so too. Because
I'm
that's
very excited.
yeah,
I'm excited about that. I mean, I'm going to benefit from being in the West Coast Health Alliance, and I'm grateful for that. And I was able to schedule and right, and I scheduled my COVID and flu shots for October 1st, which is when the government's supposed to shut down. So hopefully it won't. How can this will be our last question? How can we best support Democrats right now? And what can Democrats do to make sure the government stays open? Because we need the government to stay open and
well,
continue to
I mean,
function.
you
What can
can't give
Democrats
up all
do?
your tools though. Let's
I believe
No,
we've got
I
to
mean, I'm
make
just
the
saying.
case of how deep the hurt is going to be. When people can't have enough money to deal with one modest emergency, and the billionaires are making out every day in the stock market, something is way out of whack. We
right.
need an economy that gives everybody in America the chance to get ahead. And when
Yes.
people are hurting, like with these bills coming in now, I want them to be in touch with us at wyden.senate.gov, and I'm going to use them on the floor of the Senate.
Thank you. And can I ask one more question?
thank you
Because
so much.
it's coming from
Yes,
the
you
chat.
can.
It's coming from the chat. It's not me. Do Democrats have a plan to reform the system overall when we get back in power? Our vulnerabilities have been clearly exposed. So that's from Elizabeth
fair.
in the chat. What do you think?
You bet. For example, I'm going to get these clean energy policies, going again, because right now what Trump is doing, giving all the breaks to the oil companies, is raising our prices. You know what the biggest word is at one of my town hall meetings? The biggest issue, is the second word is bill. It might be medical bill, it might be
wow.
gas, it might be
Right.
housing bill, it might be education bill. That's what we're going to be focused on, and we have a plan at the Finance Committee with the Democrats ready to go.
All right.
Awesome. I am so proud to call you my senator. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow, your town hall. But then there's also that press conference with Merkley and my rep, Suzanne Bonamici, and Representative Dexter. I'm going to see if I swing by that one too. And this is a continuing conversation that I feel very, very lucky to be able to have with you. So thank you so much for your
Yes.
generosity, your time with us, but also your devotion to the people of Oregon and the country.
That's right.
Thank you so much for your time. Everybody, thank you, Jim, for being the best moderator.
Thank
Everybody
you,
follow
Senator.
us, sign up for our Substacks, keep your eye on the Democrats, and never count us out. Remember, keep hope alive. Tara Buster tomorrow night, TaraDublinRocks.com, and I will see you tomorrow, my senator.
You two
Thank
are
you
the
so much,
best.
everybody.
All right,
Thanks,
Senator.
Stay safe.
Good work.
You are. Thank
See
you.
you soon.
See you
Bye.
soon. Thanks, you too.
Thank you.